Hello, Growl Pod. Welcome back to the podcast, and thank you so much for being here. For first-time watchers, welcome. I am the Lady Lioness, your gracious host, and each week I hunt down the people you want to hear from and the topics you crave hearing about. And if you've got that hunger, you're in the right place. For our returning listeners, thank you so much for the support. You guys absolutely rock. This show goes live every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and together we explore that inner growl, that undeniable fire inside that drives us to do what it is that we do. Please take a moment now to just like, subscribe, smash that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on what it is that we do. And if this episode resonates, please feel free to share it with your friends. We love spreading our fire. Drop some love in the comments section. I love hearing from you. And the more that you comment to us, the more that brings our message and our shows organically to other people in the algorithm. And that's what it's all about. It's about taking our inner fire and sharing it with our tribe. And I'm here to tell you that you are my tribe and you belong here. And I appreciate the fire that you bring to the Growl Pod community. And I absolutely love spending time with you. So before we begin, just a quick age reminder. Viewer discretion advised. This show and every show that I produce and everything that we talk about is meant for the 18 or older community. We are all consenting adults. Everything that we talk about here is from a place of safety, sanity, authenticity, and consent. Our show tonight, it's an interesting one. We are myth-busting the idea of safe spaces. And how we're doing that is by unpacking some key elements. So we're going to dismantle the illusion of safe, the word safe, or the idea of safe. We're going to talk about agency as the foundation to bridge the gap between, the traditional ideas of and iterations of consent. We're going to talk about radical accountability. We're going to talk about authenticity, because when do we not talk about authenticity here, at least with me? And tonight I have a truly thought-provoking episode lined up for you with a guest who is actually reshaping how we think about connection, power, and play. So they've presented for major platforms across the nation, from the Service-Oriented Conference to After Dark and Bonobo Network. They are a visionary educator, a seasoned organizer, and a champion for authentic, agency-driven kink. And they're here to help us embrace our imagination, explore our edges, and discover new ways to connect with joy. So everyone, please, if we could welcome the multifaceted, charismatic, and super cool demon, Nyxie Noc. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm super excited.
So I see your makeup, and we talked about it a little bit. You had a photo shoot, a demon photo shoot. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I love to do photo shoots as art, just to be, the muse behind some photographer's vision, and I like doing that kind of stuff. But I also really just like using the photo shoots. Sorry, as marketing materials. And so every year I treat myself to one with my favorite team of photographer plus makeup artists, Tamara and Amber from Yellow Bubbles. And we do something fun, and then it becomes my sticker of the year. So I've already got my 2026 sticker. Today was, here we are in June, and I'm working on my 2027 sticker. So it's a whole process. It takes months. And this is the kind of stuff I do so I can pass out awesome stickers when I go to events.
And we love trinkets. We really do. As kinky people, we like collecting little trinkets. And if you've got a cool one to share, which you showed me one before, do you have one with you?
I do. I just recently had my 2026 sticker made into a soft enamel pin.
Love it.
I'll have with me when I go to Test Fest. I bought 50 of them. And I will have my stickers, which are super shiny because they have a holographic sheen to them with like stars and sparkles and rainbows in them, because very gay. And so, yeah, I love it because I get to make shiny things and give them to everybody. And it also has my, QR code from my Linktree on the back. So it is technically a business card. So
that is so cool.
It's
I
win-win.
need to get pins as business cards. I think that's the future. Very nice. All right. Well, tonight I want to welcome our chat. It looks like we've got a couple of people in here. Let's see. Oh, Stan. Hi, Stan. Stan is wonderful. Stan does some artwork for us. He does every now and again the thumbnails, and he's a staple of support, always in the chat, always supporting. So hi, Stan. Thanks for tuning in. All right. So let's see. Title of our show, Kinky AAA. And that's something that struck me in our Instagram chat. And I was looking at your stuff and listening to your videos, and you're most widely known for your talks on agency and tickling and bullying and all sorts of really cool stuff, which I love. But it just, it just, and this is before I read about your burgers acronym, and I'm a big acronym lover. So I said, oh, let's do an acronym, and then I found out that you also like acronyms. So I said, all right, perfect, Kinky AAA, and that's for you had discussed wanting to talk about the topic of safer and safer spaces, safer people, safer practices of kink, because nothing really truly is safe, is it?
Yeah, I get that question a lot in my classes when I'm doing something that's emotionally or physically kind of dangerous, a little sketchy. And I do play sort of sketchy sometimes, like my bottom and I know what we're about. We've weighed the risks. We're mitigating where we can, and we know what we're about. But to somebody who's new to kink, it looks like I'm going to do some damage, especially emotional damage with like my bullying class is pretty harsh. And they'll say, but isn't that safe? And I'm like, nothing that we do here is safe, actually, because there's the things that are unsafe, and then there's things you have no idea are going to happen.
Right.
Whether on a like physical, like, hey, there's an earthquake and we all have to run out of this dungeon naked right now, or like, I didn't know that was going to bother me as much as it did. Nobody's ever said that to me before, or it hit really different this time. And then you're like, was my consent violated, or did I just find a button I didn't know was there?
Right.
So I think about how every day we get in our cars, we drive down the freeway at breakneck speed. We've taken driver's ed. We have a driver's license. We have insurance. We're ostensibly not drunk or intoxicated. We're, using our turn signals. We're being safe, but we know objectively we're never safe, because a car from anybody come out of nowhere and you have an accident that has nothing to do with you, even though you were being super safe. And it's really the same with kink, that sideline can come out of nowhere. So rather than like focus on things like safe spaces, safe people, or safe kinks, I really love to borrow from the sex positive community, who doesn't say safe sex. They say safer sex. Because all sex includes some risk.
Some risk, yeah.
That we adopt just thinking of things as being safer instead of safe.
I love this. So before we dive into the philosophy of that and safer and the kinky AAA, I want to sort of take a trip in the way back machine. So how did you first find your way into the BDSM community, and what did the early, because you've been at it a while, so what did the early landscape that you navigated, what did that look like for you? How'd you come in, and what was it like?
I mean, in a completely legal sense of the word, I'm just going to start with when I was 19 years old, I got hired to do phone sex in Nevada, California, on the phone with a headset in a cubicle next to other women who were in cubicles with a headset, which is not how you think of phone sex.
That's not what you picture at all. That's so funny. I love that you just debunked that myth. Okay, go ahead.
They were like pregnant women and old ladies, and just like it was a job. And every once in a while, somebody would be like, I got this call, and this guy, he has a hairbrush up his butt, and I don't know what to say to him. And I'm like, I'm fascinated. Give me the phone. Like, I want to know. I have so many questions. Let's go. And so then I really started to find that whenever there was like somebody who was calling who wanted to be told what to do, or wanted to be humiliated, or wanted to be degraded, or wanted to be forced by, or forced femme, or forced sissy, whatever, that I was really good at that. Because I asked a lot of questions. I was like, why do you like that? Why do you want to do that? Tell me more.
Sure. You adopted
So,
a come closer instead of get away approach. Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
what
like
this
taking
is.
notes.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fast. It's like a case study. I'm like, this is fascinating. I want to know more. I love it. And I got really good at talking to that particular group of people where some of the other women didn't want to talk to them. And I was like, no, this is my wheelhouse. I'm about learning more about this. And so I started saying that if you got a call you didn't want to handle, just be like, hey, my sexy little roommate's right here. You want to talk to her? And they would just hand me their headset and we'd switch headsets.
I love that.
Yep. Yeah. Or I was on a party line where you have up to six calls at one time, and you would get people talking to each other where you could just sit back and observe. Like as a phone sex operator, you could just let customers talk to each other.
Let the magic happen. Do you remember party lines? Oh my God.
Yes, I'm that old. So
Me too.
and whenever I had to do age verifications and like ask, I always like to ask people, where'd you get my number, baby? And they would tell me what magazine they found my phone number in, my phone number, the phone bank's phone number. And they would tell me they found my number in magazines like Hair She Is for women who have full body hair, or one called Poppin' Magazine, which I bet you can't guess what Poppin' Magazine is. Pregnant women.
I did not guess. How interesting.
Pregnancy fetish magazine. And then there was another one where it was like all women in wheelchairs. And then, I would get a little insight into like, oh, why do you like that? They'd be like, are you hairy? And I'm like, yeah, so hairy.
So hairy. Yeah. Wearing a full sweater.
And,
right.
Full brush and everything.
I braided actually.
Yeah, they're like, wow. So I was always so fascinated with that. And I really like the power that came with just telling people to do ridiculous things to themselves while they were on the phone. Like punish themselves and spank themselves with a hairbrush or whatever like that. People
ate that up. Yeah.
I loved it. And they called back for more and I had regulars. So it was great. That was really like my first foray, and I was 19. So I really didn't know what I was doing. It was very not really all that ethical. Like, it took me a long time to actually call that sex work, but it is sex work and I'm okay with that now. But at the time I was like, no, it's just for pretend. It's just phones. It wasn't pretend just for
having
them.
a chat. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I got my start with like that side of kink. But if we're being totally honest, I might have always been this way because I have always enjoyed opportunities to, with some permission. I didn't go around bullying random kids. I would wait until other kids engaged me, and it was playful, but I always had the upper hand, and I was always just a little bit meaner. But they came back, they played more, and they knew I was going to tickle them. They knew I was going to hit them in the face with their own hands. They knew that they were probably going to get a wedgie, and that was empowering to me too. So yeah, I might be dyed in the wool, a sadist. I might.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the world needs more.
I think so.
So I guess you answered the next question that I would have had for you if there was a specific turning point. So you were just that way, just cut from that cloth. And I think that happens for many of us. I mean, some of us have that epiphany moment. But I guess I'll ask you this. What caused you to see a need in the community that drove you to want to educate and teach?
I know exactly where that came from. When I was doing the phone sex work, I was talking to people in their 70s and 80s who were just after, a spouse died or whatever, finally starting to be honest with themselves about what they wanted. And they were calling me and saying, I've never asked anybody about this before, talked to anybody about this before, but I really want to try, name your poison. And we would do our little phone scene, and sometimes once or twice, they would break down in tears.
Oh, wow.
And
That's deep.
I'm like, well, tell me what's going on for you. Like, are you all right? And they're just like, I needed that so much. And I wasted my whole life telling myself I didn't.
Hmm.
And now it seems like I'm at the end of my time. And I feel like there's not enough time to catch up to. I could have been doing this for ages. And it's too late for me now.
Oh my gosh. But how impactful for them and for you to be able to give them that experience. Even at that stage in the game, how they perceive it. But imagine to never have had that.
To never have had it. And I also noticed that people in their like 40s, 50s who were starting to get into it, they had been doing it clandestinely, like sometimes their whole life, especially the ones who had partialisms. So people who fetishize feet, legs, noses, whatever. Those folks, I think that there's some science to support that some partialism is inborn or hereditary.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like feet, probably your dad likes feet. So sorry to break that to you. But if you like feet, you've probably
generational kink, yeah.
As long as you can remember. And what I noticed is that if you don't have a healthy outlet for that expression, if you don't have people you can be honest with about how you like feet and you sexualize feet, you might try to suppress that and hide it. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work because then you end up being that person at the mall who's taking pictures with their phone of people trying on shoes at Foot Locker. And then you get in trouble and you're So I find that like when we don't have this healthy outlet for our expressive selves and kink, that it tends to like fester. And it comes out in some really maladaptive ways, which can be harmful to yourself and to the people in your life and just random strangers on the internet. So,
yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, if you don't have the outlet, I mean, it's going to come out either way. It's like a pot boiling over. There's no amount of holding on the cover that's going to stop it from happening. So whereas we practice what we practice in a way that is, consensual between parties, that sort of helps. It's the outlet. And when people don't have that outlet, it can very oftentimes lead to some levels of pathology. You're 100% correct. Yeah.
Yep. And if you have followed at all Brad Sagarin and the program at the University of Southern Illinois, the surveys that they've done over decades of time have really shown that about 70% of the entire population has some kind of kink.
Mm-hmm. I'm not shocked.
I'm not at all.
Mm-mm. So let's talk about some of the darker stuff then. So you've spent years handling misconduct reports, consent violations at adult play parties, right? Was there a specific pattern that you kept seeing in those reports that made you realize that standardized consent culture wasn't enough, and maybe that's what inspired you to the creation of your Burgers for Agency, which is a great concept, by the way. It's such a rich resource.
Yes. And also like there are other people that I work with and around that have also brought me into this way of thinking. And really like the reason I came up with Burgers is because I wanted to empower people to center themselves in their choices. Because what I noticed was that even when we did orientations before a party that explained the container and explained the consent culture of the event, we still had consent violations, even though everybody was required to take the orientation. Everybody was required to take a little quiz after orientation that said they understood the material. And then everybody signed a little paper saying they were going to be compliant and that they were going to follow the rules. We still had consent violations. And what I find is that there are a goodly portion of those that are a genuine misunderstanding. Sometimes harm happens in the presence of consent. And sometimes we feel okay about something and then we share it with our vanilla friends and they pathologize it. And then we go, oh no, maybe I was violated.
Right.
And that's a whole thing to unpack and untangle. But what I found was that people who violate consent with intention will try to do the plausible deniability. I didn't know, I didn't understand, I wasn't sure, etc. That's kind of the go-to excuse. But for them, even if they're doing CNC, it's not enough, because the violation is the kink. So for those people, no amount of consent education is going to keep them from being harmful to others.
Right.
So what I have to do is I have to say, go over there. I'm not going to deal with you. I'm going to deal with these people to recognize you, to identify you, and to empower themselves to avoid you. And that's how we're going to we'll see if it works, but that's kind of my thing, is like, I want to empower people to be able to say, like, I feel like I'm being pushed into this, or there's really too much inequity in this pairing for it to be safe for me to participate. And maybe I need to step back.
Which is all okay. Yeah.
All okay. Like, and I always feel like there's always another opportunity to play. Like the scarcity mindset of, this is my only chance to do this. No.
Bad. Very toxic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that answers your question, but that's really where the need for burgers came from, was something that like really was like, let's stop trying to make people stop being consent violators, because we already know that that's going to happen. And let's start working on making ourselves like not harm proof, but at least more aware of why we're motivated to make certain choices.
Yeah, it's a layer. It's you have to, if you can't push against and completely obliterate something or remove something. You got to layer in a neutralizer. And I like that your burgers concept. And for anybody who wants to know more, in the show notes, I've got a link to that particular article. So please read on it. It's a great layer. It's a layer, I guess, of protection, empowerment. It's a great layer on something that just is always going to be. And I love the embracing of, not necessarily for positive, but just acknowledgement. I'll say it, not embracing, but acknowledgement. I love that. So let's myth bust the concept of safe. Right? So your perspective on safer spaces rather than safe spaces is actually very liberating for reasons that we just discussed. So why do you think our community clings so tightly to that myth of absolute safety? And what do you think are the dangers of doing that?
I think about how, 20 years ago, safe, sane, and consensual was like the vernacular at the time. And talking to old guard leather people now who have kind of kept themselves abreast of changes in the culture, they're like, we weren't really all that safe. And I'm like, yeah, it seems it's a little outmoded now. But I still think that word gets thrown around, like a lot of other therapy speak gets thrown around in just our Western culture. Of people saying, I'm a safe space. I'm sorry, you don't get to decide that you are a safe space. To whomst? Like, especially if you're a person of extreme privilege, if you're at the top of the privilege food chain, you don't get to decide that you're a safe space.
I love that you bring up that concept of privilege. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get to be the person who's like, oh, I'm not racist. It's cool. Like, you don't get to decide that. So for me, there is, of course, anytime you do something risky, you're going to want the reassurance that you're like, are you sure it's going to be okay? Like, you go on roller coasters and hopefully you're like, these people can't kill me. It's not allowed. There's a whole bunch of lawsuits that'll happen if I die on this roller coaster. So they've made it as safe as possible, right? Right. And then we go into these kinky venues and we think, well, these venue people don't want anything bad to happen to me. So they're not going to allow bad people in here, are they? And it's like, well, how do we know? Like, everybody's going to say that they're a safe person to be in this space. They're not going to come to an event and be like, I totally plan to violate people here.
Right, exactly.
We do vetting forms where it says, have you or are you presently involved in any kind of consent violation process? And I mean, the more accurate question would be, do you plan to be in any consent violation processes in the future? And then we can be like, no, thanks. But that's not a question people can answer.
Sure. Of course not. So if there's always an inherent risk, right? physical, emotional, psychological. How can we shift instead of trying to eliminate risk to effectively managing it? What's your suggestion in that?
Right. Talking about risk mitigation is definitely going to be part of your, before you go to an event, to risk mitigate within yourself, before you join a group or go to a munch or start talking to somebody on the internet, risk mitigate within yourself. And then, of course, when you are negotiating a scene or a dynamic with a partner or somebody you pick up play at an event, you are talking about risk mitigation. And so here's the thing, is that you can risk mitigate all the way down as much as you can go, but there will always be a base level of risk that you cannot get rid of without just not doing it. That's the only way you can remove that risk, is to not do the thing. So you talk about how to recover from it, what you'll need for aftercare, not just immediately after, but the weeks after and the days after. You want to talk about what you're going to do if something goes wrong, or, hey, this is what my trauma response looks like. If you see this happening, time to pull back. You want to talk about checking in throughout scene instead of just getting consent to the front of the scene and not checking for it until it's over. But knowing that there is always going to be that base level of risk. And if you think that's too much for you, then today's not the day to do that thing. Maybe on a different day, maybe at a different person, maybe at a different event, not today.
And I think what I'm hearing is risk mitigation, at least the way I'm processing what you're saying, is that can be not just trauma response, but that can be like, how are you feeling in the day? What happened in the day that is going to carry over, or at least color the lens by which you're approaching? And I think that's important. I think the concept of risk mitigation is something that we don't lend enough credence to in that regard. And I love that you bring that up.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is a major part of risk mitigation for any players and literally any adult is that, I mean, I don't understand why. I do understand why. It takes time and it takes money, and not everybody has it. But why everybody in Kink community isn't first aid, CPR, and AED certified. I am. I'm bloodborne pathogen trained, and I am also like OSHA surface sanitation trained, because I want to know that the surfaces I put my bottoms on aren't going to give them ringworm or norovirus. You know, like I know what to clean with what. I know what to use on bare bottoms and what not to use on bare bottoms. That's part of the risk mitigation, but that's just physical talk. When we talk about emotional risk, like, hey, did you get dead named at your family reunion all weekend long, and now you're gonna play with me? Like, are you in a state emotionally where that's a good idea? Or maybe we just need to cuddle today and we could talk about playing some other time. Yeah, have you drank? Have you had food? Have you rested? Are you stressed out at work? Are you going through a custody battle with your ex? Like, do you feel like you belong in this space? Those are all ways that we're doing emotional risk mitigation in addition to our physical risk mitigation of educating and doing like safety protocols and things like that.
You're so right. Yeah, there's so many layers to it. And I think this is a good segue into agency. Agency, that's a pretty powerful concept. And for people who don't know, and there's a lot of discomfort around this topic, but for people who don't know it, that's your power over yourself to center yourself in your decisions, right?
That's hard to put,
yeah. So regardless of what position you are in on the vanilla to kink spectrum, and I call it a spectrum because we all like different levels of, even in vanilla, we like different levels of things, right? So what ends up happening to agency, I think it becomes a little diluted because we're so conditioned to sort of go with the flow. Don't disrupt the process, don't make waves, and so on and so forth, that we end up losing sight of exactly how much agency we really do have or even need to exercise. So what I want to do is I just want to read your words back to you in one of the writings that you wrote. So agency is the missing piece of the consent frameworks. Agency is the ability of a person to center yourself in your consent choices. And yeah, I love that definition of it. Can you break that down the way you see it for us?
Yes. When you go through the Burgers acronym, we talk about, it's boundaries, understanding, responsibility, good faith communication, equity, resilience, and self-awareness. So those are all good things, hopefully. But when we get to the U of understanding, what I really like to talk about is when you are saying, I want to do this with you, is there an uncommunicated expectation that doing this with that person will lead to you gaining something that you have not asked for, that you haven't directly communicated that you want or that you expect? And if you are consenting with the idea that that expectation will be met, and you wouldn't consent if you knew that it wouldn't happen, that's a big kettle of fish. So specifically, let's, for example, say if I am new to kink and I would like to have more recognition or popularity in my local scene, I might think that playing with a really prominent, popular dominant might get me a little bit more social standing. So I might let that dom do things to me that are outside of my risk profile, or that maybe I just don't even enjoy. It doesn't have to feel bad or be assault or whatever. It's just things that, I wouldn't normally do that, but if I do it with this dom, maybe then I will get invited to more events. I'll get invited to more parties. Or maybe this dom will want to date me and I'll become their full-time submissive. And if you express that and the dom was like, oh, absolutely not, would you still then want to do it? Do you understand that or do you know when that's happening that you're doing that? I know for me personally, I've had many conversations with my spouse who has done things for me because he wanted to make me happy, that he has people pleased me so that I will like him and want to spend more time with him and do the things that he likes. But he had expectations he didn't communicate, and then those expectations did not get met. And then there was resentment. And I will say what I say in my classes, and people don't like to hear it because in therapy speak, the word people pleaser usually means victim. And what I like to say is that, yeah, people who see a people pleaser and know you're being a people pleaser and are okay with the fact that you can take from them and they'll keep pleasing you even more, those people are harmful. But for the average person, when we find out you're people pleasing us, that you were basically setting us up for failure, that we were going to disappoint you at some point because you didn't really tell us what you wanted, we don't like that.
No.
It's manipulation.
Yeah, people don't realize that.
Manipulation. So
It
do you
is.
understand that people pleasing isn't just bending over backwards to, do whatever somebody wants? It is doing it's trying to control the narrative of what other people think of you so that you can get things that you didn't ask for, but that you do expect. And so when I talk about understanding in terms of agency, I mean, most people have been socialized to do this from early years, especially oldest daughters, especially like parentified kids that grow up to be adults end up doing the people pleasing, and they don't realize that pattern is part of who they are, and they haven't grown out of the need to do it. And so it becomes this thing that you're not even aware that you're doing. And so I ask people like, hey, are you doing this because you want that dom to date you? Does that dom know that? And would you still say yes if they said no?
Those are good questions and a very poignant thought. It's important.
I am fond of saying that if you only consent to scenes that go exactly perfectly the way that they are planned, that's not actual consent.
You're right. It's an exchange. It's a power exchange. And you're not allowing room for the exchange. Yeah. So what could it look like? I think we talked a little bit about one of the ways that it could look like when someone isn't centered in their choices, like people pleasing. But what could it look like when someone is not centered in their choices, even if they technically negotiated a yes? So describe what that might look like.
Yeah, so I think when we're all getting started, we fumble a lot. And I love watching Pillion because it started with this person who didn't really know what they wanted and ended with a person who was like, I do want that, but I also want these other things. And knowing what you don't want is hard-earned information, and it's very valuable. And sometimes we find out what we don't want by trying things and being like, actually, no. So when you do center yourself in your choices, you have to get over that hump of like, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings if I say no. You have to get over that hump. And again, we are socialized to not want to hurt people's feelings. Even in the vanilla world, it's like when somebody asks you, can I get your phone number? What do we say? I have a boyfriend. Right. Even if that's not true.
Whether it's true or not. Yeah.
Because you're not allowed to just say no.
Say no. It's a complete sentence and it's okay.
Yeah. And it's not, it would also be great if people learn to stop taking no personally. I love no. I love it when people say no to me because I'm like, oh, thank you. Because I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to harm you. I don't want to make you do things you don't want to do. Thank you so much for telling me no. But I work on this all the time. But it would be awesome if when you say no to somebody, they would not get defensive or make it weird. We're still working on that. But we do have to put ourselves out there and take that risk that like if somebody asks for something and we're like, I do want this, but I don't want those other things. If you're cool to just do this, I'll do it. But if it has to come with this, then it's a no for me. That's hard to say. Especially
it's also hard to come to. Yeah.
I want to do the impact scene, but I don't want to have sex. And for some people, it's like, well, I need sex to round out my impact experience. And it's like, well, then we are not in alignment.
Right.
But there will be other people who are. So just having that in mind, getting rid of that scarcity mindset and of like, this is my only chance to play, or this is my only chance at dynamic, or this is the only time that somebody will really understand me. Get rid of that scarcity dynamic and really just practice the art of hearing no and saying no. And if that means that you get on the phone with your best friend and you just ask them increasingly stupid questions like, hey, do you want a mouthful of chewed up warm cabbage salad spit into your mouth? And have them be like, no. And you know, thank you for telling me that. And then you switch and they go, would you like a poke in the eye with a sharp stick? And you're like, you know what? I appreciate the ask, but no. And then you just practice that, because I really do feel like the more often you say it, the easier it gets. And the more often you hear it, the less that you realize it's not about you. And just like embracing, just practicing no, I think that's great. And that's, you know, like we could get really deep into things. And obviously the first answer that I should have said was therapy. Therapy. Go to therapy if you can. I know it's not cheap or socialized, so I can't be like.
But it gives you a great toolbox. I mean, that's how it untangles the spaghetti in your head. That's what I always say, and it's a great toolbox. But God, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm an advocate.
And also, like, if you're submissive, find other submissives to talk to about their experience. If you're dominant, find other dominants to talk to about their experience. Talk to other switches, and then just. There is no reason to jump into the deep end of the pool immediately. Take your time. There will always be another event. There will always be another party, and there will always be another partner.
Yeah. Can't say it enough. Live to play another day. It'll always be there. Yeah. So I want to talk about exercising agency as an S-type, because I think that there can sometimes be a double standard and a little bit of a negative light that gets shined on S-types exercising agency. And we can sometimes call that, or some people can sometimes call that, topping from the bottom. So I want to differentiate. I want to, have you help us differentiate between the idea of an S-type exercising agency and not really topping from the bottom. Can you explore that for me?
Sure. And we can also talk about calling it bratting or whatever like that as well. I know that there are some people who play the dom makes all the choices, what you want as a sub doesn't matter, and that's the whole point of that's the game that we're playing. And like after negotiating and setting those containers and parameters, like doing a degree of CNC, and there's, CNC is also a huge spectrum. There's, blanket consent on this end, and then, totally negotiated situations on this end. And in between, there's a whole gray area of like opt in with a safe word, opt in without a safe word, opt out with a safe word, opt out without a safe word, and then all the way to blanket consent. So if you've negotiated anywhere on that spectrum, like that is the dynamic that you choose. But there should always be a fail-safe of just like, hey, like today's not the day and I'm not the one. Or this isn't meeting my needs and I need to renegotiate. And that isn't, I don't want to do what you tell me. That's, hey, this isn't working for me. And I was under the understanding that we cared about each other. So I would hope that you would want to, I did the Thrive conference about 3 weeks ago. And one of the questions in that panel was, what do you do with a submissive who says no to everything that you want? And I said, well, I wouldn't have a submissive like that, because if you come to me for leadership, if you come to me for direction, if you come to me for guidance, if you come to me to make decisions for you, make choices for you, and that's what we negotiated, and then what you want to do is just tell me, no, we're not in alignment. I don't want to play that game. And it's part of my trauma, my CTPSD is I don't play no means yes, and I don't play yes means no. Some people do, and that's fine with them. But for me, it's a no. Like, I don't play word games like that. So when you ask me this question, what I think to myself is like, are we two adults in the room who can have a full conversation before dynamic even begins? Or are we just jumping into dom means in charge and sub means you just take it? And then if sub says, hey, actually, could we not? And then it's like, well, you don't want to be submissive because you're trying to top from the bottom. Like, make it make sense. Like, that doesn't compute to me. I don't get it. For me, if somebody doesn't want to do something, I'm so happy for them to tell me.
Yeah. And happy to let them.
Happy to let them. Like, if that means we don't scene today and we just cuddle and watch a movie, that's great. If it means we're not compatible in dynamic at all, also great. I might be unhappy about it, but I would rather be unhappy about it than have you be
harmed. Yeah. Or God forbid. Yeah. You're so right. So then I'm going to shift back to the D perspective, the dominance perspective, or top. What would agency look like from the top perspective?
I see a lot of wanting to not, and some doms are people pleasers too. And I see a lot of this infallible dom fallacy and this like, we're not about our needs being met so much as we are just our authority being followed. And I don't like that either. I'm like, hey, we're in a partnership. I would want to take care of you, and I would want you to want to take care of me in our way, whether that means that like I spin your mouth and that's how we care for each other or whatever. But agency and dominance is really saying like, I have my own limits as well. And there are going to be times where I can't be on. I can't be daddy right now. I have to be a human being. And I'm not going to be in partnership with somebody who doesn't allow for my humanity in dynamic.
That's so important. Yeah, because we're people beyond what we do. And that I think gets lost on so many levels. I think it gets lost for sure in the inbox. I don't know about your inbox, but it definitely that message gets lost in the inbox for sure.
My filters are so tight that I don't get the spray and pray people as often as I used to, but like certainly like having done so much sex work around DS, I can spot the people who are looking for that transactional situation without paying for it so fast. So fast. Because they don't ask me any questions about myself. They don't ask me what I like as a person. They just want to know what my kinks are. You know, they want to ask me these leading questions like, have you ever made somebody suck a dick? Have you ever made somebody dress up in panties? And I'm like, you're trying to get me to talk dirty to you?
Yeah, fluff your fantasy.
For the free, and I don't waste my time doing that. So that to me is topping from the bottom. Not asking for your needs to be met. That's not topping from the bottom.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I'm going to walk through the chat and see how everybody's doing. Let's see. Stan coming in with a comment. Let's see what he says. An acquaintance of mine shared how we went to a session with a mistress and how she tied him up, left him in the apartment, and took all of his belongings. Oh my God, that's awful. Sorry that happened. Yeah, not good. Not good to engage, and we should let the community know, who that is, because we don't want predators. We want to protect each other. Let's see who else is in here. Black Messy. Hey, Messy. Love the podcast and seeing great energy. Very nice. And who else is in here? Let's see. Bio1 Hazard. Hey, hell yes to the art of practicing rejection as a necessary mechanism of socialization. So true. I love that resonated for you. All right, so let's see. Now I want to discuss accountability and authenticity. We're going back to our Kinky AAA framework. And I think these two are really crucial pieces to the framework of building safer experiences. When we accept that there's no such thing as truly safe, and that harm or misunderstanding actually can happen, and we allow room for and honor the imperfect being that we are or that we are exchanging with, you take something that is an unknown and you can protect yourself and others. So you take a beautifully firm stance on accountability, which I love. You say that there's absolutely no loophole for personal responsibility. You noted that it's inhumane to say it's not my fault that I violated their consent. They don't have agency. That's their problem, which is a hugely toxic statement. So when unexpected harm happens in a space that is never safe, always safer, what does ethical accountability look like without falling into victim blaming?
One thing to acknowledge right away is that harm can happen in the presence of consent. So anytime that you come to harm, it doesn't necessarily automatically mean that your consent was violated. And that's a different conversation than I gave limits and they were intentionally violated. So, and that's like almost none of the reports that I dealt with were, I said absolutely not, they did it anyways. It was always this gray area of like, it was unclear. And it's really nobody's fault that was unclear because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we should have asked and didn't know to ask. So when it comes to accountability, the one thing that I'm always looking for when I do these processes or when I'm having any kind of conflict with anybody in my personal life is, can you acknowledge the difference between intent and impact? There's what you meant to do and what happened and how it felt for me. And when somebody has felt harm, you don't get to tell them that they weren't harmed.
Of course, yeah.
You don't get to say that. Like they are feeling that impact and acknowledging, saying, I didn't want it to happen that way, but I acknowledge that for you, that's what you experienced. And I want to verify and validate your experience is one massive step towards being accountable, because you can have the best of intentions and stuff like still
shit happens.
It really does, whether that's my hand slipped or whether it's I didn't hear you when you said yellow, or because we're in a loud dungeon and we didn't negotiate a safe signal because I didn't think I'd need one. Or maybe it's I called you in the heat of the moment. I called you a word that you didn't even know would make you feel dysphoric. And now you don't feel safe around me because I unintentionally kind of misgendered you. through a pet name or something degrading where you feel like that's attached to masculinity and you're not masculine, so that made you feel weird about it, etc. And just go, yeah, I absolutely didn't want to do that, but I understand that's your experience.
I love the humanity factor that you keep. It keeps reverberating through everything that you're saying, and it's, for me, what I'm hearing is that we are human, and even if I did something unintentionally to harm, it's okay to say that to me, and it's okay for me to hear it, and we move beyond it, and we prevent or protect against a repeat. But it's not a black or white. It's not an all or nothing. It's a scale of, we can't, you said it, we can't know what we don't know. So I love that you you reverberate the humanity aspect of it. So let's talk about authenticity, because I think authenticity plays a lot into this, and it's authenticity outwardly with other people, but it's authenticity with yourself. So how does showing up without with the aspect of being honest with yourself about yourself without wearing the armor of a perfect kinky persona, how does that make us, or me, let's say, a safer person to play with?
Wow, that's a really deep question. Like, it's one of those that's hard for me to answer because of whatever, who I am, my astrological sign, my upbringing, my trauma. I don't really know how to be inauthentic. I spot it in other folks. I really don't know how to be that. It takes up too much of my mental bandwidth to be inauthentic. So it's a difficult question to answer, because to me, you just be that way. Like, it's I don't know how to do it. But in general, just being humble enough to say, I hear that you'd liked me to do this to you or with you, but that's not actually really in my wheelhouse. It's not one of my strengths. It's one of my emerging skills or whatever. And if you're looking for a great experience with that discipline, you should talk to my friend so-and-so over here who's way better at it than me. Another reason I love non-monogamy is, like, I don't do needle topping or like blood impact, but my partner loves it. And I'm like, I'm happy to outsource that.
Yeah, right.
Go have the best time with somebody who's really good at that. It's not me. And I have no interest in learning that skill either. But, like, I'm an impact top. I'm a small impact top. I know I'm larger than life. I'm 5'3". I'm tiny. And floggers in my hands look like I'm holding my daddy's toys. Like, they look so massive on me. And so a lot of my impact toys are short, like melee weapons. They're not giant, mop style floggers, because my arm's gonna get tired. I'm too short and too short of arm to really, like, if you're taller than me, like, get accurate strikes on the shoulders with a flogger. And so, like, do I know how? Yes. Am I great at it? Not great, but but also I don't really love it. I don't like it. Like, it's not my favorite thing. And I'm so much better at so many other things. And so when people are like, do you have any floggers? And I'm like, I do, but I don't want to do that.
Knowing thyself is like a superpower.
It is.
It really is. It's a great skill.
Yeah, I do know a lot of tops who will be very generous with their skill and do things where they were, probably bored half an hour ago, and not be like, hey, I'm kind of done. But, we don't want to disappoint. We want to give people good experiences. We want to be known as a nice top that's safe and fun to play with. So we'll put it out there. But at the same time, it's totally okay to be like, I'm not in the mood for that right now. Or just like, I'm a romantic / gray romantic. I am not in dynamic to find love. Sometimes I find it anyways. If I know somebody for a really long time, the connection's really great, but I don't need love to motivate me in relationships. I don't need love for sex. I don't need love for dynamic. I need to be honest with people who are interested in me. We can play, we can date, we can do all that stuff. If you're looking to fall in love, I'm not your person. I'm not your person. I can't be your primary. I cannot. I'm solo poly in the sense that my primary relationship is with myself. So if you're looking to like have that 50 Shades of Grey love story, it's not going to happen with me. I'm so sorry. Like it may one day, but I'm just really honest about my bandwidth and authentically that I don't experience a lot of romantic feelings.
Makes total sense. And your ability to communicate that is something that is very necessary. So I mentioned the word superpower. And of course, Stan, who's in the chat, I love his question. I usually put it in the wheel, but I didn't this time. And we're going to get to the wheel in just a moment. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? And how would you use it in your kinky life? I love this question.
And an easy answer for me, because I think about this all the time, is that I would love to be able to speak, read, write, and understand all languages fluently.
Oh, I love that answer. Communication is key.
And then I could play with people from all over the world and feel confident that I could understand them, including ASL. I would also include ASL in those languages. So
love it.
That's what I would want. And then I can travel the world beating people up and
and they would understand every moment of it. And so would you. It's so perfect.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Stan is in Bulgaria, so that would come in handy.
Yep. I've been doing some teaching for organizations in Greece and South Africa and maybe possibly the Netherlands in November this year. And so I'm just like, wow, I wish I could just give a flawless presentation in Dutch or something like that. That'd be so cool.
What's that like? So what is that like when you present in different countries and experiencing the different cultures?
What's interesting is that I really recently had an opportunity to host a class that was taught by a elder in the community, a gay leatherman, John Pendle, who you may have heard of. It was International Mr. Leather quite some time ago in Chicago, but lives in the UK. And John was teaching this class that I was hosting called Dungeon Disasters, and we were talking about red, green, and yellow, which we use very frequently in the United States to mean like, yes, this is great. We need to change something and like full stop.
Sure.
And he's like, in the gay leather community, yellow is something else.
I didn't even perceive that.
Yeah, yellow is for piss. So if you ask for yellow in the gay leather clubs in England, where John is from, you're asking for piss.
You're not slowing anything down.
No, that's like baby time. So that to me is hilarious. And every once in a while, just like the colloquialisms and idioms and stuff like that we use, I find that I have to explain more. I have to break it down, like what that means. Because the audience is like, wait a minute, what is that? I'm lost. So that's always fun, and it gets me to like stretch my imagination. I also did my bullying class that I'll be doing at Test Fest, where I had my poor bottom had a delicious lemon bar they were hoping to enjoy, and I just shoved the whole thing in my mouth and ate it.
Aww.
And there were all these questions in the comments about, what did you just eat? What is that? It looks delicious. I would like one. And I'm like, well, you don't have lemon bars in South Africa? And they don't.
They don't. Oh, God.
I feel like I need to send them.
Yeah, we need to ship some lemon bars. That's another opportunity. Pins and lemon bars. Very cool. All right, so we're going to do our kinky wheel, and I have fun with this. Let's get it in here. Okay, so I'm going to spin this wheel. I personalized it for you. I love your color scheme, by the way. Lime green is and shades of gray and mana, black whites. Those are good. So I applaud you for this picture. I really fell in love with it. So let's do our spinning wheel. I have a few different prompts, and we'll see where we land.
This is hilarious.
There you go. Awesome. Side eye. So what I would like you to do is give us one example of a red flag that you've either observed or heard over the years that somebody has touted as safe, if you can.
Gosh. Oh, yes. I will talk about how, like, somebody told me that because they were in the Navy, that they were the safest possible rope top because they knew all the knots.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Right.
but you, the complaint against you is that not that you tied rope poorly, it's that after you negotiated the scene, you introduced a taser that you did not negotiate for. So I'm not really concerned about your knot work. I'm concerned about the fact that you're negotiating up mid-scene while people are restrained and can't leave.
Yikes. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a bombastic side eye if I ever heard one.
They were like, I've been in the Navy for 30 years. And I'm like, great, you're a shit cop.
Oh my God. All right, let's spin again. Let's see where we land. I should get theme music for this. All right, holy shift. So holy shift, real talk. I want you to briefly give us an example of when you exercised your agency in an exchange with someone that led to a shift in either your conversation, play, or dynamic. Give us an example of when you exercised that. Oops.
Oh, gosh. Wow. The only example I can think of is like super deeply personal, and I'm not sure that I'd share that.
Okay.
Because I don't have everybody involved's permission. And since I'm pretty open about who I'm acquainted with and what I'm attached to, it would be pretty obvious to guess who that was. I will say that I had a really great experience with another woman when I was at a rave in like 2001.
God love the raves.
Yes, it was like a camp out rave. And the guy I was with, like, had gone out dancing. I'd already gone to bed for the night. And he shows up at the tent and he's like, I brought you something. And I'm like, what is it? And he's like, I got a girl. And she's like, super excited to meet you. And I was like, sweet. So we proceeded to have this very unprompted threesome. And I remember there was a moment where I was touching her vulva. Mm-hmm. And she just moved my thumb where she wanted it. And I was like, oh, you can just do that? You can just do why does nobody do that?
Why does nobody do that?
Why is everybody just like gently nudging you?
Figure it out, yeah.
Like trying to wiggle into the position instead of just being like, do it like this. And how I was like, oh, I'm doing that from now on. Like from now on, I'm not waiting for people I just met to figure out how to give me an orgasm. I'm just going to tell them. That makes so much more sense. And that wasn't even a kinky experience. That was just a vanilla sex experience. But it was like my 22-year-old brain was like, you can just do that.
Yeah.
Wow. And now I'm like
freeing.
That person who's giving you the air traffic control like the whole time. And people are mostly appreciative. Occasionally somebody will be like, I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, clearly you don't, or I wouldn't have to give you the tips.
Okay, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Holy shift. All right, let's spin again, see where we go. All right. Okay, finish this. So this is finish this phrase. Safety is an illusion. Building safer spaces, exchanges, and safer selves takes, finish that sentence.
Takes burgers, takes the whole burgers acronym. It takes boundaries, it takes understanding, it takes responsibility, it takes good faith communication, it takes equity, it takes resilience, and it takes self-awareness. Awesome. Like I know we have burger time also, but I'm just going to throw it out there that like those are the things that we need to build safer spaces and just to have like a way to come to a place of accountability that is not the court of of FetLife comment sections.
So right. I mean, that's just a very single, a monotone way of a monotone view, really. You're so right.
It really is like you either bat 1,000 or you're gone. So it can't be that way. There's no path to accountability that way.
True. All right. So next spin we've got is raw dog. All right, raw dog. What do I mean by that? So I want you to give us a 30-second pep talk to help us bring our authenticity to the negotiating table. What would you say with somebody who's nervous to go into a negotiation? Give us a pep talk.
This is what I said when I did the Ignite After Dark talk in January 2026. The people who really care about you actually would love it if you would say no to them more often. They want your no. They want to hear your no. They want your authentic yes. They actually don't want you to overextend yourselves to keep them happy. They want you to give them boundaries because they don't want to harm you. So the people, it's going to sound counterintuitive, but the people who care about you the most are going to be the ones who really want you to say no to them.
So right. I'd love to hear that too. What would you like? Well, I don't want this. Or, okay, well, how about this? Well, no, actually, that's fine. Totally fine.
Yeah, let's not go to the road to Abilene. Let's not do that.
So what is one small internal question that someone listening can start asking themselves today to center their choices and turn their attention toward building a safer space, exchange, or self? What's one self-examining question that they could ask?
You could ask yourself, are my boundaries rules for me or rules for other people? And if you have boundaries, I'm so happy for you, and you know what they are. That's great. Can you communicate them? And can you hold them? Like, it's great to have a boundary, but once that boundary is crossed, what is your plan? And if it's just to move the stick a few inches further, that's not a boundary. So starting with the bee and burgers, just like really go, okay, are my boundaries that I'm stating things that I want other people to do or not do? Or is it framed as in, if this happens, I will do this because I don't want it? And then when that happens, what are you going to do?
Love that. That's so impactful. So is there anything else that you would like to discuss with me and our listeners today that we didn't already touch on? Because you're into some pretty cool stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person at Test Fest in just a couple of weeks and it's my first time to the East Coast. I've never been. I don't know what to expect. I have never experienced humidity in any real sort of way.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm going to give that a 0 out of 10. I'm really sorry about that. But wow, what a peaceful, what part of the West Coast are you living in that has no humidity?
I live in San Francisco area and like we get fog every day. Like every day. There's maybe like 1 week in early October, late September where it's just hot as balls for no reason. But like it's kind of always a little like bring a little sweater everywhere you go.
Oh my God, my hair is literally listening to you speak and falling in love with no humidity and a breeze. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously some because it does rain here and you do need humidity for rain, but like I just don't ever I've never experienced that like sweltering thick air that I hear about.
I'm really sorry in advance about that. Don't judge us by that, okay?
I won't. And you know, I'm just here for the adventure. I went to Chicago for the first time in March and I was really like, I don't know what this is about at all, but let's find out. And I had a great time. So I always know how to make my own fun.
That's
so
good.
I'm looking forward to that.
Are you looking forward to the pizza? You have to get the pizza.
I cannot eat pizza, but I'll have a bite. I'll have a bite. And I am going to blot the hell out of it with napkins.
Oh, you're not a greasy girl, huh?
No, I gotta do the blot and then I'll have a bite and that's enough for me. I'm not gonna. Somebody gave me a sandwich from the King of Sandwiches in Astoria recently, and I had their 18 ingredient sandwich, and I had about 8 bites of that sandwich, and I didn't even take down 1/3 of it. So I was just
Oh
like,
my God.
that's enough for me. It was
So
a
you've
lot.
experienced the food. Yeah. But that is a lot.
And I live here and we have such great food that it's like, yeah, but like whenever I travel, it's always like, what are we going to eat? Where are we eating while we're here? So that's coming up. Test Fest is coming up right off the heels of Test Fest. I'm going to the Boundless Retreat in Northern California. I'll be teaching there. Then it's come home, unpack, wash up, Dory Alley. If you've never been to Dory Alley, it's kind of a mini Folsom Street Fair that's just for
Cool.
locals. And then we get into what is, if you've ever been to Fusion or Winterfire in out east, we have our own called Thornwood, same organization. Dark Odyssey Thornwood happens the first week of August, and I'll be teaching there as well. And then we get into Folsom season, and we do Folsom. I'll be at Apex in Phoenix the week before Folsom. Then we do Folsom Street Fair, and then it looks like I'll be headed to New Mexico in October once or maybe twice in 1 month. And then there's also Dark Odyssey Surrender, which if I'm not teaching, I'll probably be attending. So there's all those big events that I'll be at, plus sprinkled in a lot of like podcasts and online classes. And I'm teaching co-teaching a spanking class with Rain DeGray on the 23rd of June this month, which is super fun. And I just launched a in-person in San Francisco monthly cuddle lab where we teach proprioceptive touch and really like facilitate a safe container for platonic touch, which I wanted to open up to people in kink community because other cuddle parties don't really create such a great sense of belonging for littles, middles, therians, furries, and pet players. And I wanted to have a cuddle party that they felt at home at. So now we have this little cuddle party every month in San Francisco, which I'm super proud of and really like. Just there's a lot going on. It's not.
Yeah, you are definitely till November. It's what month are we in? It doesn't matter. You've got so much going on, but you know what? I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired that you get around and you bring your message, which is a really good one. And it's you're very articulate and you think and feel deeply about your message. And that's one of the things that when we connected that I immediately, like it jumps right off the screen. And that's pretty awesome. And I love that you talk about platonic touch and the importance of touch. And I wish you so much success with that, because I think that in this age of disconnect, I think that touch is even more important. And myself, I'm comfortable being touched. I'm comfortable touching. I come from the medical industry, so I've been in positions where that's what I'm doing. I'm touching. So if more people could be comfortable with touch and being touched, I think that at the level you can, of course, there are certain people that you have to honor their feelings around touch and being touched. But I think that it's so connective for those of us who enjoy it. And I love that you're doing that cuddle lab among the other things that you're doing. So big standing ovation from me, for sure.
Oh, yay. It's really great. I really like it because I'm not a big time snuggler. I don't like to be spooned. I don't like to be held, but we'll teach people in our lab, like, it's okay to just touch feet.
Touch feet.
Just touch your feet together while you sit in proximity.
That's so cool.
That's enough. And again, there's no reason to jump into the deep end of the pool right away.
So right. Yeah. Show up at whatever level you can. So I am very excited to meet you in person at Test Fest. I cannot wait. And we're almost the same height. I am 5'2" socially, of course. If we're talking technically, I don't really want to admit to 5'1 3/4, but 5'2" socially. So
got it.
So what classes are you teaching at Test Fest?
Oh, I am bringing 3 of my super fun classes. I am bringing the bullying class, which is an emotional S&M plus an extra spicy layer of like your classic schoolyard bully techniques like wedgies, tickle torture, noogies, purple nurples, etc. So it's all that plus the role play of, cheerleader and nerd or babysitter and kid or whatever dark age role, whatever. And I think it's really fun. We even talk about fraternity hazing as kink play, and it's super hilarious too. Like the audience just has a great time because we get to chant like slurs and names that throw garbage at the demo bottom. It's fantastic.
It's cool to let loose and be accepting of that letting loose, because we do it in private or we do it in some like semi-public spaces. But I love that you're bringing that to the education sector, because it's so much damn fun. And hazing, there's already paddles. I mean, it's like it's already there. Make the connection.
Playing, and it's such a great group play scene to do a fraternity hazing ritual. Like, I have adult money. This is what I want to do.
Yes.
That's what I want to do with my free time.
So what else are you teaching?
That one, we're doing my dirty talk lessons from a pro from my phone sex days. I'm going to try to teach people how to get over their awkward, but also embrace it when we talk dirty, either on the phone or in person with people, and connect that way. And we also go through some vocal exercises where we talk about adding breath to add youth or feminization to the voice, or we do some like exercises where we like do like a Santa Claus laugh and we learn how to talk lower and like really drop into that Kathleen Turner aspect of ourselves and add vocal fry and just all the sounds that we can make and the nonverbal sounds that we can make that are erotic if we want to do, spicy chats, or even just, in the same room, read each other erotica, but not just like, and then, but like really embody what we're reading in a sexy voice. And most people are like, I can never do that. It's so awkward. I'm like, no, we're doing it.
We're doing it. Yeah, no, it's great. And kinky bedtime stories or just reading erotica with people. I fucking love that.
So hot, right?
It is. It really is. That's an underpracticed kink, I think.
I think so too.
So
and
what are you
looking class? The third class is another underpracticed kink, which is my sadistic tickle torture. I can do sensual tickles, but I'm not really about that. I'm a sadist. So if I'm tickling, I'm going to make it emotionally and physically painful, uncomfortable, and difficult. So we're going to talk about dark role play and tickling. We're going to talk about interrogation and tickling. We're going to talk about humiliation and degradation and tickling. And like, we're going to do some like, try it this way, try it that way, choose your own adventure sort of scenarios to really like expand our definition of what a tickling scene can look like. And how
I love that.
So well incorporated with other kinks like impact and rope.
I love that. And I just need us to center for a moment. If they didn't like being tickled, they wouldn't laugh so much. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
It's so funny. When I taught this class in New Mexico, I wasn't able to bring my demo bottom with me. So I had the New Mexico Leather League find me a volunteer who was down to demo bottom for the class. And we went through the vetting process and I interviewed them about like, how do you feel about this? And I said, I'm going to tickle you in stocks and it's going to suck. And they went, wow, I think I'd hate that. And I'm like, okay. And then she said, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yes,
that's
this
great.
is the kind of bottom I need in my life. It's the person who goes, that sounds like it sucks and I'd hate it. Let's go.
Let's go. At what time? That's awesome. So those are 3 classes that I'm definitely going to be in for test. Thanks for lining up my schedule. Yeah. So how can we connect with you from now until whenever, November, let's say, from now until November?
The easiest way is, I'm sure in the show notes that there will be my Instagram handle. And if you go to my Instagram handle, you will find that in the bio is the little link tree. And that link tree has everything from, this episode to my Patreon, which is a great way to get my behind the scenes. You get to beta test classes I haven't launched yet. You get to read my fiction novel in installments. You get to see where I go from this to the cute little enamel pin. That whole process is part of that. That's on Patreon, and there's a lot of levels. You can join for free, you can join for $1, you can join for $10. It's whatever. But then I also have my link tree separated into online classes, in-person events, and then I have a whole section of resources, which include my burgers workbook, which you can get for free. It's a freemium option. You can read the articles about it, watch any of my previous podcast episodes, and you can look at some other resources that I have gathered from other people in communities, such as kink sheets and this handy dandy downloadable negotiation card that you can keep in your wallet so that you remember what are the important questions to ask when you negotiate. I didn't come up with that. It's from negotiationcards.org, but I put it in there anyways because people need it. Mm-hmm. And just in general, like all that stuff is all, and my website, all in that one place.
Thanks. Wow, that's great. Yeah. No, that's good. I walked around that in the show research, and you really do a good job of making it easy for people to get information that you want to share. And that's, I know that sounds like it should be an automatic, but a lot of times it's a struggle. But so I mean, we appreciate that.
It is. And there's also like, I'm always like, hey, follow me on Insta, follow me on FetLife. And then inevitably I get some kind of message that I don't want to see. And then I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say that. But, you know, I'm a grown up. I've seen a lot of dicks. So I don't want to see it, but I know what to do with them.
Yeah, you take the good with the bad. That's what it is. Well, Nyxie, thank you so much for sharing all of these valuable things and tidbits that you have shared with us. And I've loved getting to know sort of the behind the scenes version of what it is that stokes your fire. And I've had a really, really great time doing that. And I'm sure our listeners have too. I certainly can't wait to see you at Test Fest. Give you a big hug.
Forward to it. Like I'm super pumped. Me and my demo bottom Leah are coming out, and we're just like so stoked. Like every time something bad happens, we're like, "Oh, that sucks!" But Test Fest is coming, so
yeah, right. Yes, we'll look forward to Test.
Keep your eyes on the prize. I had such a great time being here. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak on what I feel is like super, super important. It's one of the reasons I give away my agency workbook for free, is because I think that message is so important that everybody needs to hear it. And I don't want cost to be a barrier. I will be teaching this class for free, the agency class for Pragmatically Kinking, August 12th, I want to say. It's in my thing. For free as part of my contribution to kink community. When I give back, that's the class I give back with. And so if you're following Pragmatically Kinking on FetLife or Instagram, they also put on the Thrive Fest, which is also free. That's an August. Cool. It's super great. Super great. Whole convention online that's free, dedicated to the overlap between kink and neurodiversity. I love working with Pragmatically Kinking.
I am definitely going to link that specifically and to your, you know, what we just discussed. I'll link that in the show notes also specifically, because you have this giving about you. And that's something that's so important for our community, because we're starved for information, many of us, and we're looking for direction. And if we can find good direction at, you know, low or no cost and just putting it out there, we are further populating the community with next generation of super cool, safer people.
Safer. Mm-hmm. And if it's not live yet, it will be. Like as soon as I have the link, I put them right up. So if you're following along, you won't miss it.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for coming. And to everybody tuning in, thank you for being here. I want you to smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and help us grow by sharing this episode. Yes, smash it. Help us grow by sharing this episode with a friend, because somebody's got to hear the stuff that we're talking about. Hit me up with some love in the comments. Connect with me on Instagram, the Growl Pod. Connect with Nyxie. Drop some love, either here, any of the other platforms. Everything's going to be in the show notes, and I love hearing from you. So I have here with the Growl, I have a Patreon community now. I'm working on developing that. So far, it's all free, and I'm going to offer that stuff that way for now. And then plenty of ways for us to connect on FetLife. I've got a group on FetLife. I'm the Lady Lioness on FetLife, the Growl on FetLife. And yeah, it's just plenty of ways. And I love hearing from you. So remember, you are my tribe and you belong here. And I appreciate the fire that you bring to the Growl Pod community. And in case this is the first time that you've heard it today, I love you and I appreciate you. And I will see you all next week on the Growl.